The Mix 88.5 Property Update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group, developers of Tudor Villas and in the final stages of Tudor Court Condominium, Pratham Nack Soi 2. The Tudor Group, Thai lifestyle, European standards.
Welcome to the Mix 88.5 Property Update here at PMTV. Guest as always in the studio with us is Tim Gladwin.
The Mix 88.5 Property Update.
So good afternoon once again. Welcome to our Property Update. It's a Wednesday. In the studio as always from Salmons, Thailand is Tim Gladwin. Good afternoon, Tim.
Afternoon, Russell.
If you want to get some more information from Tim over some of the things we discuss over the weeks and months, 0382525588 is the phone number. Patia@salmonsthailand.com is the email address. And it's all brought to you by the Tudor Group, part of Tudor Villas and Tudor Court on Pratham Nack Soi 2. So how has it been over the last week?
Yeah, well, I think there's been somewhat of a slowdown for the Songkran holiday. Obviously, we've had two public holidays during the course of last week. I think last Friday was Chakri Day,
yep,
and this Monday was a holiday in recognition of the princess's funeral, and I believe to an extent certain, I don't know if it's government offices or whatever, I think they were closed down on Tuesday and Wednesday as well. So it's all, you know, everything's
it's one of those months that's always slow, isn't it? Because it was Easter as well for the Western contingent over the weekend, and then Songkran comes up, and it's just like holiday after holiday. Then it's May Day, and you know,
yeah. I think there's two more public holidays after Songkran in April. So it really is typically quite a slow month, and even slower this month. Although business has actually been fine. Business has been ticking along quite nicely. It's just that you're in and out of the office. It does have that feel of Songkran for more than just the 3 days or the week as it typically is here in Patia.
And I suppose the water helped as well. The enormous deluge we had, was that midweek?
Yeah, it was. It really was a bit of a shock. Again, the flooding came back to the new second road there in Jomtien.
Yeah.
It was somewhat of a downpour. Just managed to avoid it myself, and thankfully stayed dry. But I don't expect that to be a theme for the coming days.
Well, yeah, it depends if you're going to stay locked inside through Songkran, or you're going to run away somewhere else, or you're actually going to get out anywhere outside, whether it's raining or it's lovely sunshine. You will be getting wet.
Yeah, and at least I suppose the weather has been so incredibly hot the last few days. For once, maybe a bit of cooling water might not go amiss, although I won't pretend to be a fan of the water throwing.
Yeah, cooling water is okay unless it comes out of a bucket full of ice, and then I'm going to be going, oof, no, that didn't do me any good whatsoever, regardless. So, business ticking along fairly okay, and all the things going well. Now, last week we went to Tudor Court for the opening, or at least the opening of the showrooms, and then the whole place is getting ready very soon. We looked at all the suites together, the show suites, and unfortunately I did say that they were really nice. And Simon said, no, you're supposed to be looking at the good building work. So I think I upset him a little bit there. But I think it's difficult to see the good building work when you go in and go, oh, that looks nice.
Yeah, they did a very nice job, as obviously developers tend to when they're putting their show suites together, and they look really very nice indeed. But, personally, I did take a little bit of a closer look, and you look at the things like the windows. Obviously, there's UPVC windows in there. The doors to the apartments are some kind of imported security
Scorpion.
doors.
I've got all the information down here. Let's have a look at it. Scorpion doors.
Yeah, it seemed very secure indeed.
Yep.
And overall, when you do scratch the surface, if that's the right expression, as Simon has always said, he obviously focuses on the details, focuses on the quality. When he's used, whether it's air conditioners or whatever, fixtures and fittings in the kitchen, whatever, he's focused on good quality brands, and it's important to him that he's, presenting a product to prospective purchasers that doesn't just look good, but actually is good quality and will, no doubt, last for a long time, because that's what tends to be the difference between good quality and poor quality. Both can look very, very good when they're brand new, but I think over a number of years, good quality lasts and continues to look good, and poor quality deteriorates quite quickly.
Yes, I mean, they were basically white and very clean and nice looking, but there were little tinges of colour, and I did like the sort of cerise pink one. There was an orange one. I've got little pictures up on the screen here that we can't see on the radio, but I can see here. They're quite nice. They've got all the little bits and pieces. As you say, the accessories and the fittings in there. We've got Electrolux for both the microwave, the hob, and the oven, the washing machine, and all sorts of other things there. LG are taking care of the aircon units. There is the imported windows from Germany, which he was telling us all sorts of different things, and how that enhances the whole security of the place as well, along with those Scorpion high-security steel doors with all those extra locking points. Although, one thing I noticed was the big corridors.
Yeah, very big, wide corridors, which is not that common, because obviously, for a lot of developers, making them a bit narrower, and you give yourself some more saleable square meterage.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't get anything for big, wide corridors, but they are nice.
Yeah.
And it gives you a nice feeling of space when you walk in between the units. I must say, I was very impressed. Obviously, you never quite know what a developer's going to deliver until you go to a place, and certainly, I don't imagine there are any buyers who will simply phone up and buy one based on what a couple of guys on the radio might say. However, I think what it is fair to say, and what people might do, is listen when we say the standard is such that you should go down and have a look for yourself and make up your own mind. And I'm very confident that people won't think it's a wasted journey, because he has done a good job. He has spent money where not everybody does.
Yeah.
I think that the overall impression that you'll get is a very positive one. Obviously, Pratomac is a very popular location, ever more popular. So the location is good, convenient for both Pattaya and Jomtien. But you are getting there at a very affordable price. I think his prices are in the 60,000 baht per square metre.
Got that one here as well now. Here we go. 60,000 a square metre. 54 is the starting, I think it is. Yeah. 54 to 58, and then goes up to 64,000 baht per square metre. But they're quite good units as well, good size-wise.
They are. I like the ones that, it's very typical in condo construction to build sort of the long, thin condos. Mm-hmm. And I've never been a massive fan of those. Quite a lot of Simons are turned on the side, so they're very wide and not so deep. And I really like that style of one-bedroom unit that he's got, where you do have the big, wide living room with obviously the window to the balcony and so forth.
Yeah.
And it means that there's a lot more light in there. Some very, very nice corner units in there with, again, lots of light coming in from extra windows. Overall, yeah, I was very, very pleasantly not surprised, but I was impressed. It's a good development, attractive units, very well built, and like I say, he's spent the money on a lot of important fixtures, fittings, and general attributes that serve the condo very well.
Yes, I noticed one thing that was working very well on the particular day. You go into the show units and you look at that. Oh, that's a very nice sized balcony. You could actually do something out there. And in the one unit that was hosting the event, so to say, did something very good with the balcony. They showed you how much space there was on the balcony, because there was a bar set up, there was a buffet area set up, and there was plenty of space for people wandering around at the same time.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I hadn't really thought about it, but when you think of what he had on that balcony, with the food with service behind, obviously the bar with service behind, and there was plenty of space, and even with all that on there must have been at times 15 or 20 people stood out there having a drink and a bite to eat. So, really, that's a pretty big party you can have there. Particularly when you bear in mind you can then open the French windows and you've got a very nice big living area to add to it as well.
Inside, outside. I've always been a fan of big balcony areas, because I always hate the thing of if it's just a tiny little thing, well, why bother? And let's just put the wall further out and have a bit larger space on the interior. But these balconies really are balconies you can use.
No doubt. No doubt at all. And you're absolutely right. If there's no practical utility to a balcony, well, what's the point? I suppose smokers might argue that as long as it's big enough for them to stand on, they can go outside and blow smoke out into the fresh air. But other than that, it's hard to imagine what use they are.
Go out the front door if that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle beyond that to see the practical utility of a lot of balconies that are around, because they are so small. They're not deep enough to get a table and chairs in. And if you can't do that, then really what's the point?
Yeah, why bother? It's just basically a place to keep your aircon unit, which if you'd strapped it to the wall, it'd have been fine anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the other things there I did actually get from Simon when he said something to point out and look for. Window sills. I never really noticed it before, that window sills are not really around in Thailand very much. I've got them in here in the studios because we've built double walls everywhere there. And I never really noticed until he said, look, there's a windowsill. And I thought, oh, yes. No, I've not seen that around before. You're right.
It is. I mean, you know, it's what I tend to look for. When I go into a new property, particularly houses, obviously, because double walls tend to be more common in houses than they are in condos.
Yeah.
The first thing I do, I look for the columns sticking out, because if the columns are sticking out, then it means you've got very thin single skin walls.
Yeah.
The column sizes are such. If you've got proper thick double skin walls, then there'll be no columns sticking around in the inside of the house.
Yeah.
The second thing I look for are windowsills, because obviously at a window you can see both the inside and the outside of the wall, and you can see the actual width of the wall. And there are a lot of different types of walls that are built. At the very cheapest end, some developers over here use just a single breeze block, which is really cheap and really not very good quality and no good at all for insulation.
Yeah.
Some then use the so-called super blocks, the big white blocks that are much better for insulation, but a lot of them will only use a single layer of them. And then obviously others will use 2 blocks. But again, when you're doing your insulated, your cavity wall construction, your double walls, what bricks are you using in those? And that's why I always look at the windowsills and the width of the wall, and I can through experience, you can tell what kind of blocks have been used. Although sometimes you get confusing because they use different blocks on the inside and outside. Yeah. But nevertheless, it's a very good guide. And you know, if you're looking at a property, a very, very good place to start. Look for the wall columns, look for the windowsills, and you'll have a very good idea of how good the construction is and what kind of insulation you're going to get in the property.
Yeah, because most of the time if you go into a townhouse these days, you see those the columns sticking out a mile because it's the columns needed to be quite thick to hold it up, but the walls were the thinnest and smallest piece of block they could find.
Yeah, you do see an awful lot of them, because the majority of the construction over here is a cheap construction, is not only single skin, but single skin with cheap blocks, which are really not very thick. And so obviously the cheaper, the thinner they are, the more the columns stick out.
Because there's one thing I'd always look at the actual, when you look at bricks rather than blocks, because a brick in the UK and a house made of bricks is very nice. I do like a brick, but the bricks over here are, well, sort of half the size, thin-wise, and I wouldn't want anything built with those.
No, it's quite rare that they use the little red bricks here for exterior walls. They'll quite often use them for interior walls, maybe when they're building a bathroom or whatever. But again, if you actually look at them, it's very rare that the standard of bricklaying is very good at all.
Yeah.
Particularly when you see that there's a bit of a difficult area, and you'll see them thrown in at all different angles with a bit of with a bit
large
of cement,
slab of mortar to keep it all together.
And it really is a bit messy. They don't tend to go in for the nice finish. And you know, obviously at the other end of the spectrum, if you do get something built better, it's a lot more expensive, but you are getting a house that will serve you well, that will last better, and obviously that will be far better from an insulation perspective.
Yeah. So all in all, it was a nice little evening. Thanks to Simon and the guys at Tudor Court for putting on the refreshments and everything else and showing us around those units. If you still want to get one, I believe they've still got a few left. And if you get onto that 50% down payment, interest-free over 3 years, it's still there available. So basically 1.7 you can put down and get yourself one of those 3.5 million baht condos fairly easily. And Simon will take care of the rest of it. And they're fully furnished and looking extremely good. If you haven't yet seen them, get down to Pratam Nak Soi 2 and find out. Now, speaking of the 1.7 million, let's have a look at the Forex. This week, not a lot of changes anywhere. The pound, 49.1. It was 49.2 last week. The US dollar, 30.9. It was 30.9 last week. The euro is the only one that's changed slightly at 40.5. It's up a tiny little bit at 40.8. And the Aussie dollar, which we never know what's going on with, absolutely no change really there at all. Long holidays and Easter and things like that, no one really caring?
Yeah, I'm sure that's right. You know, we've had the Easter holiday in Europe and the West, and I really don't think a lot of trading has been going on. I imagine that people try to get away a day early and back a day late, and all of a sudden, with Good Friday and Easter Monday, pretty much the week's gone, and I think that, you know, like I'm sure many things, not an awful lot of trading has gone on.
Okay, now if you're putting your 1.7 million baht into Tudor Court this week, That down payment would cost you in US dollars $54,882. If you're doing it in pound sterling, it's $34,577. And euro, that horrible currency that I don't like, is $41,928, but still some people use it. Now, the last couple of minutes, let's have a quick look at Property of the Week. We're getting back into houses again. You found some really good houses over the last couple of weeks, and again this week another one.
Yeah, there really are some exceptional deals out there. Great time to be a buyer. This house is a huge property, 430 square metres or so, living space inside, 4 beds, 5 bathrooms. It's in a very nice boutique gated community in East Pattaya. Sits on a very generously proportioned 1,000 square metre walled and gated plot with a large private pool with a kiddies fence around it. Very big, very nice, properly built sala in the garden. Where you can sort of sit out and have a bite to eat. There's fan in there. There's electricity in there. Looking out over the pool and to the very attractive house that it is. Big utility room out the back where all the washing, ironing, and so forth can be done. A nice big garden as you'd anticipate on a plot of that size. Huge rooms inside the house, obviously all with big, spacious ensuite bathrooms. Nice big balcony upstairs overlooking the pool. Really lovely house, very big. It's rented right now. The lease is just about to come to an end, and the owner wants to sell it and sell it quickly. Hence the asking price of 5.5 million baht, which is really an exceptional deal, and something that anyone who's looking for a house, be it for something to live in themselves or alternatively in as an investment property to rent out,
especially if they've already got a sitting tenant. Yeah,
although like I say, the tenancy is about to come to an end. The tenant's been very happy there, and wanted to renew, but obviously the owner wants to sell.
So if you bought initially straight away, you could renew, go down there quickly and renew the
potentially
the lease.
So potentially. I don't know if they've sealed in any alternative arrangements as yet, but there is the possibility. But I think it's fair to say this kind of house. Increasingly, it rents out relatively easily over here because you've got so many families from the west now coming. They're looking for a big 4-bed. There's so many 2 and 3 bedrooms. They just don't do the trick for the families coming from the west. And families also, particularly with kids, they want a nice garden. They want somewhere they can sit out in the garden, like the sala. They want a nice big pool that is more than just a dipping pool where they can actually swim in it. And so this house ticks an awful lot of boxes. And at 5.5 million baht, it really is a good deal.
Good, it's nice. And another one of those properties of the week this week that is a great deal. If you want to know more about them, contact Tim at 038-252-588 on the phone number. Pattaya@salmansthailand.com is the email address. Or, of course, you can just drop onto their website at salmansthailand.com. If you want to know more about Tudor Court, Pratam Nak Soi 2, then drop along to their showrooms and see it direct, because that's the best place to get a good view of how nice those condos are. Moving in July as the work gets finished up. We'll see you same time, same place next week. As always, Tim, thanks.
Thank you, Russell.
See you later.
That's it for another week. See you same time, same place next week for another edition of the Property Update, Mix 88.5 and PMTV.
The Mix 88.5 Property Update, brought to you by the award-winning Tudor Group, developers of Tudor villas and in the final stages of Tudor Court Condominium, Pratam Nak Soi 2. The Tudor Group, Thai lifestyle, European standards.